What if the Holy Land, the ancient cradle of Judaism, became a Christian state? This isn't a relic of history, it's a live question fueled by American evangelical ambition. Imagine Jerusalem where the cross stands beside or even replaces the Star of David. For millions, this is prophecy fulfilled, a new Jerusalem, a beacon of salvation. But every dream casts a shadow. For some, this vision is a nightmare, a threat to Israel's very identity. Such a transformation would be seismic, not a gentle conversion but a geopolitical earthquake. It risks unraveling decades of fragile coexistence, igniting the very firestorm apocalyptic texts warn about. Israel, the world's only Jewish state, is a sanctuary forged by history and persecution. Changing its core identity challenges its very reason for being. Yet a powerful American evangelical movement sees this as a sacred duty, bringing Jews to Christ in their ancestral land as a step toward the second coming. This isn't fringe, tens of millions believe it, wielding immense political and financial power. So we stand at a precipice. One path promises a messianic age, the other a global clash of civilizations. Transforming Israel from Jewish to Christian would be the boldest social and religious engineering project of our time. It's a gamble with the fate of nations, the Middle East's stability, and the meaning of faith in the 21st century. Is this the dawn of a new era or the trigger for catastrophe? The idea feels paradoxical. A Jewish homeland redefined, the world watches, uncertain. Will this be salvation or self-destruction? The stakes could not be higher. The question remains, is this the beginning of a new Jerusalem or the spark for a global firestorm? The Christianization of Israel isn't about conquest, it's a modern crusade waged with money, influence, and culture. The plan starts with a flood of American resources aiming to build a parallel Christian society so appealing it overtakes the existing one. Grassroots evangelism is key. Missionaries fluent in Hebrew and Jewish culture embed themselves in communities, offering services and friendship. Their message, Jesus as the Jewish Messiah, not a foreign god. Political pressure is the next pillar. Evangelicals leverage U.S. foreign policy, making support for Israel conditional on openness to Christian proselytizing. Pro-Christian Israeli politicians get funding and media support. Opponents are painted as obstacles to the alliance. Demographic change is the final piece, encouraging Christian immigration, especially Messianic Jews, and offering economic incentives for conversion. Scholarships, business loans, and housing assistance make Christianity materially attractive. The approach is holistic, targeting soul, mind, and wallet. The goal: reshape Israel from within, not by force, but by irresistible transformation. It's a campaign of patience, power, and persuasion. The architects believe it's divinely ordained, but can a nation's soul be bought or only lost in the attempt? The blueprint is set, the consequences are unknown. The real battle for Israel's identity would be fought in culture, not combat. American-style Christian media, TV dramas, reality shows, pop music in Hebrew, would flood the airwaves, making Christianity feel modern and Israeli. The aim: normalize the faith, erase its foreignness, and win hearts through entertainment. Education is another front. Private Christian schools funded by American donors would teach a history where Christianity fulfills Judaism and promote Christian values as the path to prosperity. Capturing the next generation's minds could shift the nation's trajectory in a single generation. A sophisticated media network, news, social media, publishing, would highlight conversions and Christian contributions while subtly critiquing secularism and traditional Judaism. Christian foundations would fund artists and filmmakers, building a vibrant Christian cultural scene. The ultimate goal: redefine what it means to be Israeli, biblically rooted but Christ-centered. Christmas as common as Hanukkah, the crucifixion as central as the Exodus. This isn't just about converting individuals, it's about transforming collective identity. The classroom, the screen, and the stage become the new front lines. The soft power offensive is relentless, strategic, and deeply funded. Can culture alone rewrite a nation's soul? The answer may shape Israel's future. Money drives change, and the Christianization plan relies on economic muscle. Billions from American evangelicals would fund new businesses: tech, agriculture, tourism, owned and operated by Christians and Messianic Jews. These companies would prioritize hiring co-religionists, creating a closed economic loop. The promise of good jobs, affordable housing, and business opportunities would lure converts. Christian-owned housing and venture capital would reward those who join the movement. Economic incentives make conversion pragmatic, not just spiritual. The Christian business network would lobby for policy changes, using collective power to demand concessions and influence government. Over time, the Christian sector could become vital to Israel's economy, making resistance costly. Economic entanglement would force the nation to choose identity or prosperity. The strategy is subtle, but effective. Change the economy, and you change the country. Can a nation's faith survive when its future is tied to its wallet? The Christianization project would meet fierce resistance from Israeli Jews for whom the state's Jewish character is non-negotiable. Secular Israelis would see it as an assault on democracy and an unwanted import of American culture wars. Religious Jews would view it as a spiritual threat, a continuation of centuries of persecution. Anti-missionary groups would escalate, confronting missionaries and working to deprogram converts. Rabbinic authorities would issue edicts forbidding cooperation, drawing a clear line. The result: deep social fissures, families divided, neighborhoods in conflict. The dream of a unified Christian state would first pass through a nightmare of internal strife. The government could tighten immigration laws, restrict proselytizing, and monitor missionary activity as a threat to national security. The state, created to protect Jews, would use its full power to resist transformation. The battle for Israel's soul would be fought at home, and it would be brutal. The Christianization of Israel would fracture not just Israel, but also its strongest ally, the United States. American Jews, long partners with evangelicals in supporting Israel, would see this as betrayal, shattering the pro-Israel coalition in Washington. Jewish and liberal groups would lobby to cut off support, framing the project as colonialism and a threat to religious freedom. Politicians would be forced to choose between evangelical voters and the influential Jewish lobby. Even evangelicals might split, with moderates questioning the ethics of forced conversion and national subversion. The spectacle of religious conflict in Israel could erode support among American Christians. The U.S. government would face a dilemma: support the project and risk domestic chaos, or pull back and enrage its base. America's own identity crisis would deepen. The fallout would be political, cultural, and deeply personal. A Christian Israel would send shockwaves through the Middle East. Arab neighbors, with peace treaties based on a Jewish state, would see a Christian state as a threat, forcing them to reconsider alliances. For the Muslim world, Christian control of Jerusalem, home to Al-Aqsa, would be an intolerable provocation. Extremist groups would call for jihad, and terrorism could surge globally. Moderate Muslim governments would face pressure to sever ties. The Palestinian issue would explode, with both Christians and Muslims caught in the crossfire. A Christianized Israel, driven by divine mandate, might be even less willing to compromise on land. A new, more violent intifada could erupt. Iran and other regional powers would escalate, framing the conflict as a battle against a new Crusader state. The fragile progress toward peace would collapse, replaced by a stark religious divide. The impact of a Christian Israel would ripple far beyond the Middle East. The United Nations would condemn and sanction Israel and the US, isolating them diplomatically. The precedent, one superpower remaking another nation's identity, would unsettle the world, especially smaller countries. China would seize the opportunity, presenting itself as a champion of stability and non-interference, expanding its influence. The global order could shift, with America bogged down and China rising. Religious tensions would spike worldwide, fueling discrimination and violence against minorities. Economically, a regional war would send oil prices soaring and trigger a global recession. Trade routes would be disrupted, markets would plummet, and the cost of the Christianizing project would be dwarfed by global losses. The dream of a new Jerusalem could bankrupt the old world. The world would be remade, unstable, divided, and dangerous. The vision of a Christian Israel born from radical faith leads down a perilous path. To overcome resistance, the project must become ever more aggressive, economically, politically, and militarily. The ethical cost is staggering, dismantling a people's identity for the sake of prophecy. Two futures emerge. In one, the project succeeds. Israel is Christian, but isolated, besieged, and the world is aflame with religious hatred. The second coming does not arrive. Instead, a new dark age descends. In the other, the project fails, but not before breaking alliances, radicalizing societies, and fueling global hatred. Anti-Semitism and Islamophobia surge, and the dream becomes a catalyst for chaos. The Holy Land, far from peace, becomes the epicenter of endless conflict. The question remains, is this vision a beacon of hope, or a battlefield waiting for the first shot? The answer will shape not just Israel, but the fate of nations. In the end, the cost of forcing history's hand may be more than the world can bear. The choice is ours: dream or nightmare, hope or firestorm.